Hi there, it's a quick video to show you how to create this lovely little feature here on the drop of these earrings. So it's like a spiral, a little sort of teardrop shape spiral with a bead embedded inside it, and then an integrated loop at the top to add into your jewellery. So into earrings or onto a necklace or onto a pendant or anything you really want. So it's this spiral we're going to create with these little points in. Okay. So what I've got here in terms of tools is I've got a pair of cutting pliers to cut my wire. I've got a pair of round nose pliers to help me create loops. And I've got a pair of flat nose pliers. So a basic toolkit will get you going with this little technique. I've also got a length of 1mm wire, 1mm thickness. This is a bare copper wire, but you can use any wire. And you can go down the gauges as well, down to, depend on the scale of your piece, down to about a 0.6 for earrings, but I wouldn't go I wouldn't go lower than 0.8 if you're doing a pendant or something that's going to have any weight to it. Okay, so this is a 1mm wire. You will then need a bead that will go thread onto your 1mm wire. I've just got some green blue pyrite here, not pyrite, lapis lazuli here to use in this design. Okay, so let's get started. All I need to do is thread on my bead, and I'm going to leave about 1.5 to 2 inches here, so that I can create my my loop to connect it into something. And then I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to just pinch into the wire here, and I'm going to create a bend so that it starts to sort of come up and around the bead. Okay, so like so, and then I'm going to hold on to the bead and hold on to the wire, and I'm going to pull the wire around the bead. You see I'm holding on to the bead quite tightly, and I'm pulling the wire around the bead all the way, almost all the way to the bottom, so that wire going through the bead is still going completely straight and upwards, and this wire is coming around. Now when I come to the bottom, I'm going to make sure, can you see how that's just kinked over to one side slightly? The wire's come through the bead and it's kinking over, so I'm just going to straighten that up so that I've got a true top and a true bottom. So when I get to here, I'm then going to pop in my flat nose pliers again, sort of at the base of the bead there, and grip onto the wire. And then using my finger to push against the jaws of the pliers. So the jaws of the pliers are going to be the mandrel here for this, and help me create that point shape. So I'm going to push with my thumb tightly up against the pliers, pushing the wire around like so. And if I remove my pliers, you see you've got your first little point in place there. So then again, I'm going back to using my hands, and then going to hold on to the bead again, and also sort of keeping that wire on the outside of the wire that's coming around the bead to start with, and then going to pull the wire around so that it follows that shape. And then this time I'm going to come all the way around, and I'm just going to give it a bit of distance here at the bottom where it starts to come to the point again. And I'm going to put my pliers in, and I'm going to slide my pliers along this straight edge here, because that's sort of going to help us determine where we're going to put our next point in, because we need them to sit so that when we're going down all the points line up. So I'm going to pop it just here and make sure that if I look at that myself, I can see that if I put the point in where I'm holding now, it's going to be lined up with this point. So popping it in there, and just as before, use your finger against the jaws of the pliers to push around, creating a point. And there's my second point in now. So then you may be able to do this with your hands, but what you might find is that it gets more curved one side and straighter the other. So at this point you might want to put your pliers in here and just straighten it all up before you go on to do your next one around. So again, holding on across all those concentric rings there. Hold down and pull the wire around. And we're going to pop our last little point in here. You can keep going with this, but the more you do, the more sort of higgledy-piggledy it gets. So I suggest sticking to sort of 3 or 4 of these concentric little points. So again, pop your pliers in roughly at where the point you think that these points are all going to line up nicely in a downward. And push against the pliers with your fingers to create a point. And then straighten up that point by pushing it with the other side and holding it with the pliers. Okay, and there's your last point. So again, your last point is in, so you're going to hold across those points, pull the wire around to the front, again as if you're going to go all the way around, but this time you're not going to go all the way around. You're going to take this tail wire here and you're going to wrap it around the stem. Okay, so you're going to hold nice and firmly. Now this is the point, when you pull round, when you pull this wire around like this, it can sometimes pull this off and make it untidy. So you must make sure that you hold firmly those wires so they can't slip around. So take your wire around the stem, again making sure you're holding firmly. And at this point, if I'm not holding firmly and I pull like that, can you see how that lifts? That wire there is just lifting, and that's going to pull it round. So I would suggest here, you take your flat nose pliers and just pinch that loop closed before you come round that full revolution all the way around it. So again, making sure still that you're holding onto that edge so that they're not jumping over one another, and then go all the way around. Now it's up to you how many wraps around you do, but I'm going to just go for those 2 there. So again, I'm going to just pinch it in so that I know it's nice and tight. And then take my cutting pliers and just snip off nice and close into the design, and then pinch that closed so that none of those edges are sticking out. Okay, so there's my component. Now from here, you can just pop a loop on the end, or you can thread some more beads on, or you might use that in a sort of a design of its own into I don't know, into a tiara or a headdress or a bouquet. But I'm just going to pop a loop on just for the sake of doing something with it. And I'll pop a bead on as well, I think, just so that I've got another bit of interest there. So there's my bead in place, and I'm going to pop a wrapped loop on the top. So I'm going to hold on with my pliers on top of the bead, and I'm holding it here so that I get a little bit of a neck area. So the pliers are going to create me a bit of a space that I'm going to wrap the wire around itself. So to start off with, I'm going to push that wire over a lot like we did for the bottom of the little pendant piece here. Push it over at a 90-degree angle, and then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and put them in place. I'm going to put them as deep into the jaws of the pliers as I want the size of the loop on the top to be. So I'm just going to pop them in place, and I'm going to push that wire around the mandrel here. So I'm calling the jaw of my plier a mandrel because that's actually what it's doing. It's holding on, but it's also giving me a round shape. And I'm going to pull the wire all the way around, and then you can see it's a little off center, that loop. So all I do is just turn my wrist slightly to center up that loop on the top. So the loop's there, ready. And I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and hold across the loop so it's not going to distort when I move this wire and wrap it round. So hold across the loop, then take this wire and pull it around and around. And now this is a 1mm, so it's a bit tougher, you know, than a sort of a 0.8, but you can use whatever you like. I like the chunkiness of a 1mm. So pushing it round as far as it will go to the neck that you left there. So once it's gone as far as it can, you can sniff off any excess, and then again take your flat nose pliers and just gently help it to sit into the sort of spirals that you've created and tuck it away nicely. And there you have a little link or earring or pendant to use in your designs. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, remember to hit subscribe and turn on the notifications, because that way you get to see the demos first. And share. Thanks for watching. Bye.